Boom.
Hello, mountain bikers. Welcome back to your favorite gear show. If you've been following the channel, I mentioned last time that we were going to be doing something a little bit different for this final episode of 2022. And here we are. We're bringing it to you live and direct from the studios, as it were. And I'm joined by Sean and Jason, who will help me go through this long list of stuff that we have planned to talk to you about today. Going through the best gear of 2022, all the stuff that stood out to us among the hundreds of products we've been testing. And it's not the definitive list of the best of all the products in each category, but it's the stuff that we really enjoyed using and we continue to use, and we thought we'd share that with you. So if you've got a little late Christmas shopping to do, or you just want to spoil yourself when Santa didn't bring you what you wanted, this is the stuff to go for.
Sweet.
Let's do it.
I'm coming in from Boise, Idaho. Idaho. Johan, where are you coming from?
I'm coming in hot from Israel.
I know, and I'm in sunny San Diego, California. I know.
Hate both.
Anybody who's on the East Coast of the U.S. right now is upset at me. They're in the negatives right now, the negative digits.
Yep. Yeah, it's snowing here. So
yeah, the one thing we won't be talking about here is how warm it is where we all live. Yeah. We won't be talking about that.
Should we kick it off, Johan? We got the list going. We'll start with Specialized tires.
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, I mean, there's been a few years where, you know, if you wanted good tires to ride mountain bikes, you'd grab a pair of Maxxis tires and you'd be off down the trails. And that's still true. Nothing has really changed there, but there's tons more options, and we've ridden a bunch of stuff that stoked us out. Specialized impressed me personally with this whole new range of tires they brought out last year. It came out before then, but it became generally available in 2022. And whole new compounds, sort of tried and true tread patterns, but a little bit of a few changes were brought in there as well. And yeah, this stuff is really, really good. All around, very grippy, confidence inspiring. Trail casing keeps the weight reasonable. The rolling speed is good. DH casing will see you through quite some rough stuff. So definitely one that we run on a few of our bikes, and valid alternative to the Big M.
Cool. All right. Speaking of the Big M, we go to the updated Exo Plus casing.
I know. Look at that. Our boy Tanner just laying it over.
Bam, bam. Pow, pow.
Yeah, good thing we have those kids around for doing that.
That's right.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've ridden that tire or that casing now on a few different test bikes, and it's definitely a nice evolution of where Exo Plus kind of was. It's like moves the needle a little bit closer to double down without going the full distance. Yeah, sweet update to that casing. Good all-arounder.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the old Exo Plus was supposed to be a little bit more puncture resistant than just standard Exo. Maybe it was, like, empirically speaking, but it didn't really translate. I used to pinch flat those all the time, and I did find that that rate of pinch flatting went down with the whatever it is, 2022 version. It's hard to pin down exactly when that rolling change sort of hits stock everywhere, so it's not super easy to know what you're getting. But you know, if you buy a new one with a fresh date on it, it should be the good stuff.
Yep.
Cool. All right, more rubber with a big old white.
Yeah, we got another tire that. Yeah, this one also kind of surprised me. Looking back a couple of years, Goodyear launched their Newton range of tires, and we kind of gave them an okay review back when they dropped. And there were some things we liked about them, but the grip wasn't quite there. And then they dropped this, what do they call them? MTF MTR combo for this year, and a bit more sturdy casing and really improved grip. I found these super confidence inspiring and easy to ride and sort of loose over hard pack, big rocky terrain. There's not a lot that will phase them. I don't do a lot of mud testing, so personally I can't really attest to that, but it's got a pretty open tread pattern and should shed mud pretty well, I'd imagine. And yeah, I've put in a few miles on this one, and it's been good. It's been resisting wear quite well. and I might have pinch flatted one of them at some point, but after trying really hard.
Nice. Was it a bit of a surprise to you that they kind of stepped it up compared to the first review?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because the first iteration was sort of decent, okay, all-around tire. But if you were riding hard and you needed tons of grip and lean angle, they weren't really all that. And this new one is a lot better. Yeah, definitely recommend it for loose and rocky and pretty hard riding. Here you can see me riding really hard up this climb.
We wait long enough. I think you go down the hill too.
That's right.
There it is.
Here we go. Yahoo!
Sweet.
Yeah, full send. Yeah.
All right.
Old guy.
All right. To the E13 grappler, Jason.
My grappler, yes. E13's newest tire came out earlier this year. And I'll preface too that there's a ton of good tires these days. I mean, kind of like Johan first said, like Maxxis used to be only choice, and it's pretty insane the depth of tire options you have now. And the grappler is definitely one that looks like that other tire. It's one of those ones that everybody looks at and they're like, oh, it looks like X model. But I think that's a good thing. I think that basing a tire on another design that is successful, it's not exactly the same, but it shares some similarities. And I was super impressed with it. It's a good tire for varied terrain. Kind of same as Johan. I didn't ride it in any mud, but I think it, for loose over hard pack, dry, rough, rocky. I mean, it's a tire geared towards aggressive riders or just riders that have pretty demanding terrain. Doesn't roll the fastest, but for, heavy duty trail riding, enduro, even downhill, very impressed with that tire. It's only $70 for their like softest compound, most durable casing. So yeah, I was stoked on it. I'm still running it. It does not look as good as it does in those pictures anymore. But I was super impressed with that. I know there's day 5 and there's month 3 for you for a rear tire. But I mean, I think wear of a tire depends on a lot of factors. But when I'm riding the softest compound from a brand, I expect it to wear out. And the grappler was not at a rate that concerned me. So yeah, super impressive. You ride rough, gnarly stuff, definitely check it out.
Cool. And that's you in Squamish.
And you rode the Mopo compound route, right?
I did. And that compound's super good. I mean, that tire, I mean, it's got really good sidewall support, but the tire itself has a lot of damping in it. Like, it really softens the trail. But it's not terribly heavy. I mean, it's not the lightest tire out there, but I enjoy just how smooth it made, kind of chattery sections of trail. Yeah, that Mopo compound is impressive.
It's super fun backstory to where the Mopo compound comes from.
Yeah.
It was derived from moped drag racing in Taiwan, which, to be honest, I haven't Googled it yet because I'm a little bit concerned with, what I might see. But it sounds rad, and it's definitely sticky. So they must be doing something right. Yeah, I haven't ridden the grappler, but I rode the TRS tires with the Mopo compound, and like you say, I really like the damping. It has this sort of quiet feel to it. It doesn't get thrown offline or anything like that. It's definitely not the fastest rolling one out there, but if you've got the steeps for it, then yeah, totally should be on the list.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely need a trail that overpowers the maybe rolling resistance of the tire. But if you're picking a tire that aggressive, you're probably planning to focus your ride on your descents anyways.
Yep.
Cool. All right, from shoes for your bike to shoes for our feet. Specialized 2FO.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was like, for me, this was the bombshell. I mean, this dropped a couple of years ago, but we have to talk about it when we're talking about shoes, because for years, literally the only legit option for flat pedal shredding was 510 and their stealth rubber. So many people tried, and a bunch of companies made nice enough shoes that were nice to wear and had all the bells and whistles, except the one that counts, which is they didn't hang on to the pedal when things got rough. So then Specialized dropped this third version of their Slipknot rubber. And yeah, from the first ride, I was like, okay, it finally happened. And we ran this story. We called it, has Specialized cracked the code? And sure enough, they did. And like, this is, I still ride this. This is the original shoe that I started testing. This is not the one you see right in these pictures, because that's the DH version I'm riding there. But this is the Roost shoe. You can see it's been well worn and Just looks like a tired old sneaker, but it's a year and a half or whatever it is, and they're almost as sticky as when they were new, and just absolutely super cool to have that option available for a shoe that's not a 510 and that has exactly the same amount of grip, because it really does. That was the big thing for me, that there's so many shoes that came close, but none where I wanted to say, yeah, this one actually measures up, but until Specialized dropped that stuff, and yeah, here we are. So obviously, you know, like the OG is still a favorite, right? The Freerider Pro, definitely a shoe that you can't disregard in any flat pedal shoe conversation. So it's not gone away, much like Maxxis hasn't gone away for tires, but it's super cool to have other options available. And Jason, I think you've dug up a super interesting and exciting piece of new equipment that's so new that it's in the future.
I know, right? It's in my hands, but it's also in the future. Yeah, I mean, touching on, Fox is making shoes now, or in February they will be having shoes released to the public. Yeah, we had the opportunity to go to Fox's headquarters here in Irvine 2 weeks ago now, and check out their whole Union shoe line, mountain bike shoe line. So 2 clipless models, 1 flat model. I've only been riding this flat pedal version, the Union Flat, but it's one of those ones where, you know, you get on a new flat pedal shoe and, like you're saying, you just immediately start thinking about, okay, how's it compare to 510? How's it compare to rubber and all that? And I've been super impressed. It's got the tread design. I don't know if I can show it with it being kind of clear, but it's basically like a lugged design that you see on a lot of models. But the locking feel of this shoe is impressive. Super light, kind of a similar look and feel to like Specialized's model we were just talking about. I think it's going to be, I think their whole line will be shoes that kind of stir up the pot for shoe options for mountain bikers, which is awesome. It's cool to see a brand like Fox, as big as they are, not just jump into a segment just to have products in it. You know, from talking with them, this is years in the making, years of development, and something that they didn't rush. So yeah, super cool. It'll I'm curious to see what the, you know, other riders think once they get their feet in them.
Can't wait to try those. Definitely.
Yeah, they're
I'm stoked.
What about these not so mountain bike shoes?
Yeah, when these things first showed up, I was like, okay, what have they done? What's this thing? And they had a whole trail cross line that launched first with just a normal sort of dry weather trail cross shoe. These are quite lightweight compared to a Freerider Pro, say, and they feel quite light on the foot. They're a little bit more soft or supple, shall we say, the uppers. The grip is absolutely fantastic, the same you'd expect from any stealth shoe. And then they came out with this GTX version, which is short for Gore-Tex, and they put this Gore-Tex membrane in it, and you can literally just wade through puddles, and your feet will stay nice and dry, and you get that awesome 510 grip. So again, this is kind of big news, because there weren't all that many good options for wet weather shoes that had the kind of grip that 510 will deliver. So definitely, if this is what your trails look like, more often than not, you should be checking these things out. They're pretty new, and it's pretty good news.
Are your feet staying dry in that puddle?
Yeah.
I love that shot.
No, totally, yeah, for sure. I mean, you can see the water coming out of the first layer, but the Gore-Tex membrane is inside of the outer of the shoe, so there's no water in the foot area, literally none whatsoever. It's super sick. Yeah, I had to test that. So yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, in SoCal, you're going to use these twice a year, Jason?
Yeah, no, I'll use them for booties surfing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Cool. All right, the Giro latch.
The latch, yes. This shoe is interesting because we talk so much about the outsole and the grip, and if I'm comparing this shoe to 510s, there's still a slight notch below in grip, but that doesn't totally make the shoe not something that I really enjoyed riding this past year. Probably the standout thing for me is that the footbed, like how close your foot is to the actual outsole of the shoe, is pretty small. And I grew up riding in Vans, riding dirt jumps and stuff, and they felt like really similar to Vans, but with, you know, added protection, a little bit stiffer around like your ankle and stuff. And I mean, I rode these for months on pedaling trail bikes, e-bikes, downhill bikes, and they perform fine for me. But if I, were to go back to back with my Freerider Pros that I ride a lot as well, they're still a little bit below. I think that it's that like chattery, damp feel that you kind of want in a flat pedal shoe, so your foot doesn't bounce. And like the most rough technical sections, these maybe have a little bit to improve on. But for like everyday riding comfort, the weight of them, like I wore those for a long time last year until I was kind of poking holes through them. I think if you're somebody who really wants to feel your pedal and know right where your foot is, and doesn't want a shoe that's too stiff, I think it's a pretty sweet option.
Absolutely agree. I have a pair and I use them a lot as well. Definitely for all my trail riding, I grab them as much as I grab any other shoe. And when we're talking about grip, if 510 and Specialized and maybe now Fox are up there with a 10, this is a 9. It's totally
Exactly.
rideable. And I have a pretty short list of shoes that I'll ride when I have to do something a bit out of my comfort zone, which by the way is getting smaller as I'm getting older, but never mind that. So like I'll grab a pair of 510s and a pair of Specialized shoes if I have to go off a big drop or a jump, or if I have to ride the super tech trails on the big bike and I fear for my life kind of thing. I'll ride the Giro Latch. I'll ride the Ride Concepts models with the max grip, whatever their tackiest option is called, I forget. And that's kind of my list. I haven't tried the Fox shoes, obviously not quite out yet, so I'll be looking forward to testing those. But that's essentially my list of shoes that I will ride anywhere. But Specialized and 510 would be 10s, and the other shoes would be 9s in the grip department. So it's not like it's a disaster. When you say everybody gets worked up when you say these don't have quite the Freerider Pro grip. Yeah, sure, they don't, but you don't always need all of that for every kind of riding. And it's good to point out that there's tons of legit options.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, sometimes, depending on how you ride and stuff, you don't always want the most grip, which sounds counter to what you're expected to think with flat pedal shoes. But, the freedom to adjust your foot as you're riding is really nice sometimes.
Sweet. All right, adjust on. Ride Concepts.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of adjustment, the one thing that was really sick this year was that they came out with these BOA models. So if you're a flat pedal rider, you know that nobody wants to spoil you with a BOA model. So here you go. Totally legit option. As we mentioned, grip is right up there in the rideable range. And they do all kinds of cool things. They have these D3O inserts to give a little damping in the footbed. They're using Cordura mesh on this one, and aforementioned BOA ratchet system. And I've put in quite a few miles on these, and really good results. Like super well made shoe, comfortable, easy to put on off with this BOA thing. And you can confuse your clipped in buddies, like, oh hey, did you move to clips? No, I didn't. I still want to have fun on my bike, but now I've got BOA.
Sweet.
I know. I know everybody's that was all the comments on the Fox article when we put it out, is like, no Velcro or no BOA on the flat model. Come on. I'm like, apparently everybody wants that.
It's a staple. Whenever you have a shoe review, somebody will comment, "Where's the BOA?"
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm pro
Here's
BOA.
one.
I'm on the BOA list. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Totally.
Sweet. All right, to have fun going fast, you got to slow down. So drop these a little bit ago.
Yeah, that's another one. This is a big category, right? When we're talking about brakes, because it's really a crucial part of how your bike's going to perform day in, day out. And if there's one piece of equipment you really want to count on, it's definitely going to be your brakes. And it's no big secret that here at Vital we really like Hope stuff. We've had great experiences with everything from their previous generation brakes to cranks to all kinds of assorted hardware. They just make good stuff. And the Tech 3 has been around for, I don't remember now, it's 7-8 years maybe, and could be more. And they finally decided to update them. So of course they call them the Tech 4 because Hope are super good at marketing and coming up with innovative names. So here it is, the 4th generation of our brake. Let's call it the Tech 4. But from like the first ride, I knew this was a bit of a game changer. It really takes everything that's super good about Hope brakes, modulation, adjustability, all that stuff, and just with so much more power than they've ever delivered before, and a much lighter lever feel. It really combines everything that I want to see in a brake. You know, just one finger, light pressure to really slow you down in any situation. Hope make really, really high quality stuff as well. Easy to maintain. They keep spares rolling for years. I mean, you can buy spares from them for 20-year-old product today, pretty much. So you're in it for the long run, and they will stand behind the product for all that time. And there's just so many brakes that get really close. Like I've been testing the new Hayes Dominion T4 over the last few months. Super good brakes, same kind of light lever feel, lots of power. The build quality is nowhere near what Hope put out, but I mean, they haven't fallen apart or anything. They just don't feel like such a premium product since we're comparing them. But you know, then you have the old debate of is it sort of the Shimano feel you want or more of a SRAM feel? Hope gets super close to the lightness of this Hayes or a Shimano brake, but it just, the way the power comes on, it's just super smooth somehow. There's no distinct little notchiness or any grabbiness when the pads sort of engage the rotor. They just start slowing down immediately, but without any of that grabbiness. And then you just add a tiny bit of power on the lever, and you just start to slow down properly. Like so much more power than the Tech 3. So we're getting a lot of comments online like, oh yeah, we know the Tech 3s, they were always underpowered, blah blah blah. Yeah, you know the Tech 3s. If you don't know the Tech 4, you need to sort of take a clean slate approach to it and say, okay, let's give them a fair shot and see what gives, because they really feel very, very different. It's not, you wouldn't pick them out in a blind test as being a Hope brake. Let's put it that way. Cool. So yeah, and if you've been following along the channel, you know that we dropped our Product of the Year award a couple of days ago, and this is the one we chose out of everything to get that distinction. So yeah, putting our money where our mouth is.
That's right.
There's a bunch of bikes sitting behind me here. Like this guy here has a Hope brakes. There's one more, and my son has another pair. So yeah, they're slowly taking over the family fleet here.
What about Maguras? Jason, you got to ride some a little bit, and it seems like a lot of people are enjoying those lately.
Yeah, for sure. I usually I'm riding full test bikes, so I'm kind of split between Shimano and SRAM is what's popular on full spec bikes. But yeah, I rode the Transition Repeater at the beginning of the year, and it had Magura's MT7s, and those. It's the first time I'd ridden Magura, or second time I'd really ridden Magura brakes, and yeah, it's kind of it felt like a nice blend of SRAM and Shimano to me. It was, you had the modulation that you get with SRAM, but a lot more bite is more familiar with Shimano. And I went up to Bellingham to ride with the guys from Transition, and we rode in some really snotty, muddy conditions. And halfway down descent, I was like, holy crap, these brakes are the same as they were in the parking lot before we rode. Really handled some weather. Yeah, I was impressed with them, and lever feels super good, nice. Feel like you can squeeze on those brakes endlessly without having too much power, like you wouldn't want. Yeah, it's great. Those brakes are super cool.
Cool. All right, we've got a question in the comments. Jump back to shoes here real quick. Someone's asking, how are the shoes for guys like me who may need to hike a little more than, say, advanced fellas? Do you guys have any impressions on what shoes may hike the best?
I mean, the new Fox shoe, rode in the first day, and then we went and filmed for a whole day in them. And I get really bad ankle rub, and I was pretty worried my feet are going to be all beat up after this, and I didn't have any problems with them. Same with Freerider Pros. I think both those shoes, the hook on the heel is good where it keeps your foot in them nice. And, the tread design and tread pattern works well off trail or on, walking as it does on a pedal.
Yep. The trail cross that you just showed there, Sean, that's a pretty nifty option. It may lack a bit of support. Depends on what you want in a hiking shoe. If it's one of those super burly, overbuilt, proper, I don't know, outdoor brand hiking shoe, this might not be quite it, because they are quite supple in the uppers. Having said that, they're super comfy, ultra grippy, and you may like the fact that they conform a bit to the terrain. I personally do. I did quite a lot of hiker-biking with these when looking for photo opportunities, and including getting up some pretty steep stuff. Yeah, very confidence inspiring to walk in and comfortable for all day use for sure. If you want something a bit stiffer, actually Specialized makes a hybrid shoe that's kind of a mix between a outdoors hiking shoe and a riding shoe, made for both. We probably don't have any footage of it lined up, but we do have a review on the site for sure. I don't remember off the top of my head the name, but it's a good option too. And that one is really comfy, almost as comfy as a running shoe, I'd say. Not that I run much, but it's kind of built more like a sneaker. So, and it has the super grippy slipknot stuff. So obviously good for scampering up steep rocks or whatever.
Cool.
So that's another one that we can recommend in that category. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. All right, let's get on the dropper posts.
Yeah, dropper posts, that's always been a little bit of a pet peeve for many people because they tend to require maintenance every now and then. And we all remember a few years ago, the horror stories, your dropper would work for a while and then it wouldn't work anymore and you'd be terribly upset if you dropped a few $100 on it and now it was the end of the world. But then Bike Yoke came out with this revive option, which is super nifty. It has this external reset valve that you can use to basically purge the internals of any air. It's got a hydraulic cartridge inside it, and that in itself was remarkable. But the other part of this dropper post is that it's just super comfortable to use. It's very smooth, like noticeably smoother than anything else out there. That's from the lever action to the way the post drops and extends. It's just super high quality. It's one of the most expensive posts for sure, but it's definitely worth it. And every now and then you might get a bit of air in the internals. So you just use this reset valve with the 4mm Allen, and it takes all of 10 seconds, and your post is squish-free like new. So yeah, super cool. It is definitely at the higher end of the price scale. But if you have that money and you want the set and forget dropper that also performs better than anything else, that's the one at the top of our list. It's not a 2022 product, but we can't talk dropper post without mentioning this one.
Sure.
But maybe the one that's selling more than this one is probably the one-up stuff. That comes in at almost half price, I think, maybe a little bit more than half of a Bike Yoke. But again, super reliable. I've got several of them running. Some have gone for more than a year now on various test bikes. No problems with any of them. The action is a tiny bit less smooth than the Bike Yoke we just talked about. But on the other hand, it does shoot up really quickly. Good illustration of that, which a lot of people like. It's got quite a defined little clunk to it when it reaches the end of travel, which is good. I love that, because then you know that it's up there and ready to be sat on. So all around, they scored really well in our reader survey, the one we do every year, where we check out which brands people like and intend to buy, and they were right up there at the top of the list, and that's well deserved. If budget is a bit of an issue and you don't want to shell out the $400, this one should be number 2 on the list, definitely. No doubt about it.
Yep.
I think that's what we had on dropper posts. Oh yeah, no, this little guy. Yeah, we should mention this little guy. P&W. They make good droppers, also not very expensive, not very fancy, let's say. Kind of not a lot of bling, but the lever is super nice, and they just dropped their 2nd generation a couple of months ago. Perfect ergonomics. It sits at the right angle. It's really nice when the lever kind of sits a bit forward towards you at the start of travel. So when you press it, you don't have it sort of pivoting away from your thumb. That feels super not uncomfortable, but you sort of hesitate to go to the end of the travel. And this one gives a very nice positive feel under the thumb, and obviously compatible with a whole range of droppers. And you can get a few different colors if you want. Definitely recommend that one. Just dropped a couple of months ago. Cool. Sweet little upgrade.
All right, let's get smooth. Talk some buttercups, some RockShox updates.
Take it away, Shredder.
Yeah, I've only had the chance to ride those when I tested Flight Attendant, and there was a lot going on with that whole system, but Buttercups was definitely one that stood out. It's just those high frequency chatter bumps when you're not compressing the fork very much, that those things really come into play and make a pretty huge difference. Hand fatigue, arm fatigue, all that stuff. flight attendant is definitely something that stands out for me. I know it came out in 2021, but it really became available to people this year on the bikes that came spec'd with it. And I mean, it's an automatic suspension lockout system for anybody who's unfamiliar, and it basically changes your fork and shock between 3 different positions to give you the most efficient pedaling platform. So it's not doing anything when you're going down the hill. It's only really a factor when you're pedaling and going up the hill. So, I mean, it's super intuitive, simple, functional, really integrated, and there's no wires, same axis batteries as other axis components. I mean, really for me, when I rode that, I was like, this is something that I think will edge us forward, the same as, say, a dropper post did so many years ago. And, you know, RockShox, one thing that's really cool about it too is I think they're focusing it just as much on, say, you know, like your mid-travel bikes as they are in their full-size enduro, like fork and shock models. So I think in the future, it could really open the door for suspension designs that don't have to focus as much on pedaling performance. You can just rely only on, you know, flight attendant systems like that. So yeah, pretty impressive. I mean, on top of that, the new shock chassis and dampers and everything are super good. I mean, I think for support and then just the suppleness of the fork and shock moving, it's my favorite I've ridden in a long time.
Yeah, I had the new Lyric with buttercups show up on this pink bike sitting behind me here, which is a Score short travel that I'm testing right now. And that new Lyric, super impressive from day one. It was like, okay, it's nice when a product shows up and you can feel something that goes beyond the sort of marketing hype. And, you know, when you get a brochure that says, okay, now we have buttercups, you're like, okay, well, whatever, you know, it's fine. You've got another name or another acronym or whatever it is you needed to slap on the brochure for this year. But no, this thing goes beyond that. And as Jason also said, you know, just in general, the chassis, the air spring setup, the damping has just gotten so good now. Definitely a standout product. Loved it from the first ride. The buttercup stuff.
Cool. All right, here's something else you love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, good old Aline stuff. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the big bike and you know, picking suspension for your long travel enduro bike, whatever. There's something I've been testing Aline stuff for quite a few years since they first started dropping mountain bike products, and there's just something to the quietness of the ride. It's not very complicated to set up. It's quite easy getting to the right sort of air spring settings. You follow the recommendations. They don't have a ton of clicks. They always focus on this adjustable range, and so meaning that they want you to be able to use the whole range on the adjusters. So if you slow the rebound down to the slowest, it won't just sort of creep back up like it will on a RockShox. So, you know, to the point where some people were writing in going, oh, my fork is broken because I can't, you know, slow the rebound down to a crawl. No, it's not broken. It's just they didn't give you that unrideable setting that you couldn't ride the bike with anyway. So why have it? Yeah, that's the one that's still, you know, to this day, this big 38 mil single crown fork dropped this year, and yeah, just absolutely a very, very impressive product just for the amount of poise it provides. It may not blow you away in the parking lot test, but as soon as you open up a little bit over rough terrain, you'll be like, okay, this stuff just works, and it's somehow not gonna just stand out to you as the thing that's doing the work, maybe, but at some point you'll realize that you're just there riding your bike, and you're not worried about your suspension settings or wanting to fiddle with any knobs or anything. You're just like, okay, yeah, this plain up works.
Cool. All right, we're going to move on to your recommendation of the Fox 34, and the footage you see here is from the Norco Fluid FSA1. It's what we chose as bike of the year. But yeah, has a Fox 34 on there, and you're down with a little bit of the compliance.
Yeah, I mean, the thing a couple of years back, I wasn't a huge fan of the Fox 34, to be honest. It just felt like it would always run out of travel. It wouldn't ramp up properly. I couldn't really find a way to get along with it, you know, without bumping up too much air pressure or whatever. And then I guess it was last year, 34 saw some pretty major improvements, like 21. And I just wanted to shout it out here because we're talking suspension. And for a short travel trail bike, it's pretty much as good as it gets. I just think it's got a perfect balance in the air spring of support and suppleness. It lets you get as much out of the limited amount of travel you have without feeling necessarily overwhelmed. And yeah, super good damping all around. Just been very impressed with it.
Cool. All right. EXT suspension nerds unite.
Yeah, we had to include a bit of bling in the suspension setting for sure. EXT has been dropping a bunch of new products. You can check out the latest product that actually dropped in 22 was their e-Storia. They made a specific version of this Storia coil shock for e-bikes. Got super good review. We had one of our heavy shredder testers put that one through its paces, and he really loved that. And I've ran EXT on my big bike, and I actually have it on my trail bike right now. My short travel trail bike has a coil shock, and it's super sick. It's got a few unique features. Maybe the hydraulic bottom out is the one to really call out, because it does feel very different when you reach the end of the travel. Instead of having the traditional little rubber bump stop, you can see here in this shot, it's a super thin little bottom out bumper, because they actually have a hydraulic system that catches the end of travel and slows the shaft travel down as it reaches the end, and that thing is super smooth when it engages. You have none of that sort of clunkiness you can sometimes get when you hit one of those rubber bumpers really hard. You can sort of almost feel it, and yeah, this one takes that away. Other than that, yeah, I mean, look at the thing, super sexy Italian machining. Of course you want that on your bike. Of course you do.
Bike of the day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mandatory for bike of the day.
For sure.
Almost, yeah.
All right, pedal time.
Pedal time. Yeah, absolutely. Flat pedals. Wow, it's been a while since we kicked off this flat pedal shootout. I think, I can't remember when we started it, maybe 2014, something like that, 2015. Originally, I think we had 15 or 16 pedals tested. Now I think the list stands at 28 or something like that. And I still need to go and update it actually this year. But there was one super, actually, I think 2022, we had two really cool pedals drop. One was this Sensus pedal, which I have right here. So this is the super blinged out titanium spindle version. Yes, it's a bit expensive, but it's also super light, super grippy, huge platform, very, very comfortable. Really love this pedal. They just came out with the chromo axle version of it as well. So that drops about $60 from the price and adds 70 grams to the weight. But definitely look that out, check that out if you're looking for that. Of course, like our perennial favorites are still pretty much at the top of the table there. The DMR Vault and the Deity T-Mac. They're both, they're threatened, but they haven't been dethroned yet. And obviously, we should point out we're splitting hairs here. Yeah, when we say these are the 5 best pedals, you can rank them in any order and go ride your bike. Yeah, it's not like one of them is hugely dominant, but these are the really good ones. And Raceface also dropped a new Atlas. They updated their Atlas. Surprisingly enough, called Atlas V2, but they got a bit of a bigger platform and some other minor updates, but the big platform really put this back up where it should be. Super good pedal, still sitting on one of the bikes behind here, I think. Absolutely also makes the short list of the super recommendations, let's say. And yeah, we know there's quite a few more other pedals out there, and your favorite pedal may not have been mentioned here today, but that's okay. You can still go and enjoy your bike and ride those pedals.
All right. Jason, the Death Traps from Deity.
Oh yeah, I know. Add another pedal to the list, but I mean, I have my Death Trap sitting here. It's pretty much a plastic version of a T-Mac, a little bit smaller footprint, but it's my go-to pedal because they're $55. I've yet to break one. I love seeing people's faces when they're like, "You're riding plastic pedals?" I'm like, yeah, and they're great. You know, the grip's amazing. And I find for the rocky terrain that I have on hand where I live that compared to like aluminum, it doesn't catch when you clip your pedals. It seems to glide a bit more over pedal impact. So, I mean, I've been riding these for like 2.5 years now, and I don't really see a reason not to run them. You can replace the pins still, and knock on wood, I'm waiting for one to crack or something, and they haven't. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The composite pedals have come a long way in the last few years. They've become legit options. They used to be half unrideable a few years back, but now they've got enough grip. And I guess these new materials are way more resistant than they used to be because, yeah, I've seen really good results. I've tested quite a few of them. I love the def traps. Yeah, I didn't break any of them either, actually.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe I need to try harder.
Yeah,
But
no, they're sweet. That's always the goal. It's the goal of product testing, right? You got to break something every now and again.
yeah,
Right.
hopefully not me this time. I broke myself this year, so I guess I should put in for like a warranty or something. So I've got some old bits now that need to be replaced.
Dude, perfect segue into protection.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How about these pot
That's
pads?
right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we just wanted to shout these out because they're just so high techy, if you like. That's kind of, I was looking for a way to summarize what I feel about them. And it's just, they just put a lot into it. I mean, POC is obviously a high-end brand. They charge a lot for their products, but they do put in the research and they try to use a lot of different materials and come up with better ways to protect you. And these things are pretty sick, if we're using the scientific term. Just all kinds of different materials used in them. They've got this pre-curved fit. They look very slim on the leg, but there's a lot in there. There's side protection, there's head-on protection, there's all the right, sort of viscoelastic materials that you want to see in a knee pad. It's got all the right certifications and really, really comfortable. You can pedal around in them all day and they'll stay put and they'll look pretty good while doing it too. So that's always a bonus for some.
For sure. How about some Liats?
Yeah, absolutely. These ones make the list, even though they're not a 2022 product. I do have 2 new versions actually sitting right behind me. I'm not sure if I can show them. I forgot if they're embargoed or not. But I am testing the new generation. They have a couple of versions of this, but this is basically their Airflex hybrid line. And if you're looking for the most comfortable pair of knee pads out there, this is probably going to be it. I mean, obvious disclaimer, it may not fit everybody's leg, but these things are just, you forget you're wearing them. I'll go for a big ride out in the desert, and then I have a 2.5-hour drive home, and I'll get home and I'll be like, damn, I'm still wearing my knee pads. Like I didn't even take them off after the ride. That actually happened. So like not an exaggeration. And obviously, Liat is a protection company, so you can trust them to kind of do the job. They are a bit thin on the side protection side. So if you do really want that side protection, the next one we're going to mention is probably for you. But yeah, these really do the job. If you pedal a lot and comfort is up there on your list, check these ones out.
All right, is this what you're thinking of for side protection?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, the side protection. I mean, the Sam Hill 7 protection pad is also not a new of 2022. It's definitely been around for 4 years or so now, but it's another staple in knee protection, and I think it'll continue to be. I mean, personally, it's a pad that I wear a lot. I mean, easy to slip on design, super breathable, light. I like that it has silicone on both the top and the bottom of the pad, so it never seems to move on me. And I think personally, like I wear like a chamois or bibs pedaling, and the height at which this pad goes up my thigh, it never conflicts with like my chamois and stuff. So that's a huge one for me. But yeah, the wraparound protection, kind of like the soft spots on the side of your knee, and these honestly will go down, depending on how tall you are and your body geometry. Like for me, they'll still protect the upper half of my shin, which is nice. And then they also offer a more knee shin version that gives you extra shin protection if that's what you want.
Yeah, these are super nice. I did a shootout of lightweight knee protection a few years back, and these came out #1 on the list. And I still have a couple of pairs of them and ride them regularly. Definitely right up there again with the super comfortable options. And these ones really do reach around both the top and the bottom as well as the side. And that you can see that sort of ring of extra protection they added around there. That's what made them a Sam Hill model. Because they had that sort of very basic trail model without those. And then Sam said, yeah, I want to ride that, but I'd like this extra thing around it for getting rowdy like only Sam can. So,
which if anyone's this far into the episode, he may get rowdy in a different way for 2023. We're hoping.
I know, right? Yeah. What do they label the intended use of those knee pads for? Is downhill listed on there?
I don't know. We might find out.
Well, they can definitely go down a hill. So
yeah,
who knows?
All right, let's move on to the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a few new drops in 2022, but before we go any further, yeah, we should definitely shout out the TLD A3. Certainly my favorite open face helmet, the one I grabbed the most, just because of how comfortable it is. And it manages to be super comfy and really just sort of sitting around your head in a nice way, while still providing lots of ventilation. I've got one here, actually. You can see a whole bunch of vents were cut in. And Troy Lee went through the A1 and the A2. The A1 was super not ventilated. The A2 was really ventilated, but didn't sit as nicely on the head. And then they sort of struck a middle ground with the A3. And yeah, that's the one I'll grab more often than not. There's another really nice helmet that came out this year. Actually, I forgot to grab it, but I can see it sitting right back there.
Go get it.
Maybe I'll go get it. Hang on. It's right here.
I'll be right back.
Hopefully I have, yeah. Lucky for everyone, I'm wearing pants. You know, this home office stuff can get out of hand really quickly. So anyway, back in position. Here we go. Yeah, this is the Giro Merit with this new spherical technology, which is basically a set of 2 EPS foam cores, one that deals with low speed impact, one that deals with high speed impact. And the nice thing is that they're sort of independent and they can rotate one independently of the other. So obviously this has to do with protecting against rotational impact. So when you hit the deck and your dome is sliding across this hard surface that's out there to harm you, all of that rotational impact energy does not get transferred into your brain, but it can sort of get absorbed in these 2 layers that pivot one against the other. You can see them pivoting there. Other than that, super comfy helmet. I would try it on, but I'm wearing these vlogger headphones, so that's not going to work out. They're not vlogger headphone compatible, but it is a very comfortable, super breathable helmet. It really doesn't look too bad either. Very nice rounded shape, kind of slim profile. It doesn't leave you looking like you're about to enter a Mario Kart race. And really liked it, really enjoyed it. That was a new one for this year. I think there's one other brand that dropped this kind of rotational dual layer thing. And I think we're going to talk about that in the next category.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. This
Indeed.
was next on the list.
Absolutely. And people are going to think that I'm on some kind of agenda here, but these things were put through the ringer. We've tested everything properly. And again, this isn't the 2022 product, but the Venerable Stage is my go-to for a lightweight, breathable, full face helmet. Gets all the necessary certification and safety features. Weighs in at about 700 grams. Lots of ventilation. I live in a very warm country, warm and humid, and I can use this and keep it on for climbs. Yeah, Sean, you don't need this in Boise. You need
Not
something
right
that can fit over your Christmas hat. But yeah, any discussion in the full face, lightweight full face category needs to include the Stage, and it's one of the few helmets in this category which is actually based on kind of a traditional full face design, meaning that you don't get that annoying ratcheting thing with an internal harness. You get proper pads, and they'll send you a couple of pads of different thickness when you buy the helmet, so you can modulate the interior to suit your head. I really like how that sits on the head. It's just very, very stable, confidence inspiring. It feels like you're pulling on a proper full face helmet. And despite that, it just weighs 700 grams, and you can see it's full of vents, super breathable. So that's my go-to. But we've discovered a pretty cool new entrant this year. Again, not new to the market, but a totally reworked helmet from Fox.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny. It's funny you mentioned not liking having an adjustment like a trail helmet, but it's funny because for me that's a feature on Fox's new Pro Frame that I'm a fan of. It has a BOA adjuster and more of like a traditional kind of cradle design like you would find on a trail helmet. But for me, when I wear that, it feels more like a trail helmet. I don't notice being as more full coverage. It kind of helps with breathability for me. Gives a bit more of a gap between the shell and your head. But yeah, I mean, another helmet that has, Fox came out with, it's a dual shell design. So it has MIPS Integra split design, which I don't know how well I can really show what's in here, but basically you have an inner shell that is moving inside of this helmet. And then the MIPS itself is now hidden below the pad. So if you have longer hair or hair that seems to get caught in MIPS a lot, it definitely resolves that issue. Got visor spots that are pretty defined, so you're not worrying about your visor moving around, which is something that I don't know why it's taken so long for us to get to on trail and enduro helmets. Yeah, I mean, for me, I was really stoked on this helmet. I still wear it a ton right now, mainly doing enduro riding, not so much trails that traverse a lot. But yeah, I mean, compared to what the Pro Frame was before, it's a much better looking helmet, subjectively speaking, I think, and a huge upgrade from where they were at. I think that they were kind of the first ones to come onto the scene with a light full face enduro helmet, and they definitely reworked and learned a lot from other brands like Troy Lee and stuff who kind of came in and evolved on that. So yeah, it's a cool option. It's not ponytail compatible though. I know that's one of Johan's complaints.
No, it is. I have one, and I like it.
Have you been able to pull your ponytail through the hole you see there?
No,
Okay.
I don't do that. I just pull it down a bit. I just pull it down a bit. But yeah, the cool thing we should mention about these dual layer integrated MIPS kind of things that was on that Giro I mentioned in the previous chapter. They're silent. And a lot of MIPS helmets are not silent, and if you're sensitive, that creaking can drive you a bit nuts on a long ride. So this is a really cool evolution, and I hope we'll see it on more helmets because it's obviously safer, but it just does a much better job of integrating the technology in the helmet shell, and makes for a better product. And yeah, it's definitely a good looking helmet. Like, despite this one being filled with a Jason inside it, it's like looks super cool.
All right, well, here's an empty one you like.
Yeah, absolutely. This category deserves a shout out to the POC as well. This one actually also has an internal adjustable harness. So this is POC's answer to this sort of enduro lightweight helmet category. One that I thought we should include on the list as well. Tons of features, very safe, super enveloping, if you like. If you like feeling like you're in a proper full face, this one will also do the trick, but it has that adjustable harness to really fine-tune the fit. If that's a thing that you like, then you can chuck this one on your list as well. It breathes quite well, despite looking kind of less aired out than some other helmets, but the vents seem to be placed in the right spot, and they do a good job.
Cool. All right,
and it comes in purple.
It comes in purple. Yeah, that's pretty sick too.
Yeah.
All right, the next product is going to be controversial if you can wear it with a full face.
No.
Gosh.
Never.
See, I made the mistake of putting that in the Pro Frame review, saying that you can't wear glasses with goggles. And I had a few friends that were like, I wear prescription glasses, I have to be able to do that. I'm like, all right, you're right.
That is the one exception. The one exception.
It is the one exception.
Otherwise, don't do it. These are also not headphone compatible, or are they? Yeah, they are. There we go.
Oh yeah, they're working out.
Look at that. You got
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing the Norvik 100% glasses in those. Is that what you have on?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Those glasses are sweet. I think all of 100%'s performance eyewear is quite impressive these days. I've yet to have a pair I don't like. Cool feature on these is it has those tabs you can see that fold out and snap into the arms, and it gives the glasses, you have a bit more coverage from wind and stuff, and also just makes them feel a bit sturdier, I think, which I enjoy. So yeah. And you get clear lenses.
And you can take them polar exploring if you want to as well.
Or your local weekend rave, they double up for a while.
Yeah. Oh sure. If you like going to German raves, definitely you should put these on the list. Actually, I have a much bigger pair from POC. POC makes some pretty good stuff as well with their clarity range. I have a very huge, obnoxious pair of glasses that is basically a pair of goggles without the whole goggle frame, just in a glasses format. They're pretty funky. But yeah, the 100% stuff is dialed for sure.
Yeah,
this particular pair, I really like it.
Yeah, one thing too I like about 100% they started doing is, I'm sure a few other brands probably do as well, is they offer smaller versions of some of the more popular models, which is nice if you have a smaller face or younger riders, whatever be, not to have always, the full windshield effect of glasses that can overpower your face. So, yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
The wheels keep us rolling.
Wheels. Yeah, this is a funny one when we went to put this one on the list, because we probably all have a few nightmares of old Crank Brothers wheels. In fact, we may all have a few nightmares about old Crank Brothers products in any category. Not trying to be nasty to Crank Brothers, they've come a long way, but there have been some pretty epic failures. We won't mention things like dropper posts or multi-tools that completely seize up after 3 months. But anyway, we're hopefully beyond that now. And remember those old Crank Brothers wheels with weird spokes
The
that
iodines?
looked kind of cool, but oh dear,
Gosh.
yeah. Well,
the opiums or
yes.
something, right?
I mean, yeah. Iodines and opiums. Yeah, when they first came out, everybody was like, "Oh, I got to have those." And then, yeah, sure enough, pretty soon it became obvious that you got to don't have those. But this new wheel range is a whole other story. The synthesis wheel range that came out both in carbon and in alloy. Really sick product. They have different tunes from the front to the rear, so they use a different rim, different layup, different height to the rim, different spoke and lacing tension or whatever. The goal being that the front wheel should be a little bit more compliant, so it will track the ground and give you that all-important grip so you don't slide out, whereas the rear is a little bit sturdier and can take more of the impacts that it's obviously always being subjected to. And I've tested these both in aluminum and in carbon, and I've been running a set actually for 2 years on my trail bike, haven't taken them off. The carbon rim, and literally no maintenance, absolutely zero. Haven't done anything to them except every now and then change the tire and put some air in there. And yeah, super impressed both with the ride quality and the durability. So well worthy of a shout out in the wheels category. Again, not a 2022 product, but we want to tell you what's good out there. So that's definitely one to put on your list. In 2022, we did see some pretty funky looking new rims from We Are One. I had some good results testing their previous rim, which is just an all-out sturdy wheel set that will take a beating and come back for more. That one was called was it Union? Does anybody remember? Yeah, I think it was the We Are One Union. So now they came out with this new rim. They call it Convergence. And if you look closely, you can see it has this sort of wavy pattern. They've come up with these offset spoke beds. So more than just offset drilling, the actual angle of the carbon layup is for each spoke, it's fully perpendicular to the spoke itself. So there should be no angle at all between the spoke and the spoke bed is the goal here. We're supposed to get a set in for testing. We haven't yet, so maybe a bit premature to put it on the list, but we thought it should be there as a product that caught our eye in 2022, and we've high hopes for it. We do know they make a good product. We've extensively tested the previous wheel set, and yeah, it'll take a beating and come back for more. So pretty stoked on this one. Speaking of value, if you're looking for a really good value wheel set that won't break the bank, even in the carbon version, Hunt make a great product. This is their, oh dear, it was called the All Mountain H Impact. There we go. Yeah, that's the one. Weird name, but again, something we tested with good results. And because they sell direct, they're able to bring these pretty high quality wheel sets in at let's call it semi-affordable price. Carbon wheels are never that cheap, and if they are, it's because you're not going to be using them for very long. So no secrets there. But this one also has this kind of offset drilling, not the full offset spoke bed thing that We Are One just launched, but again, the spoke holes are offset to provide for a little bit less tension as the spoke enters the rim. And that's definitely one that stood out to us in 2022 and got good results with this one. Happy to recommend it.
Nice. And Jason, E13s?
Boom. E13 LG1 race carbon enduro wheels. A mouthful. Yeah, I've been testing this wheel as well as the aluminum enduro version the last few months, which should have a review out here in the near future. But I think kind of like we're talking about E13 wheels, I think in the past people have had preconceived notions or past experiences with E13 wheels that aren't the best, but that made me really stoked to get on some slightly updated like rim versions, basically, is the wheels I had. And without disclosing kind of all that, I'll like go into that when we review it. But super tough wheels, like really for a carbon wheel, they're stiff, but they're not so stiff that you don't have some compliance. Kind of like one of those wheels that I just stopped thinking about. I didn't have any issues with them. Could just kind of run them into everything. They're $1,400 for a set, and they're 2,000 grams, so it's like not the lightest wheel, but also not the most expensive wheel. Yeah, lifetime warranty, pretty good engagement on the hubs. You can go on their website and buy them direct, which is a nice plus sometimes. So yeah, I was stoked on those. From talking with like Dakota Norton, who rides for Intense's factory team, and them running their carbon wheels, like they have basically no wheel failures racing World Cups with like the carbon layup that E13 is going with now. So, if you're a hard rider and you definitely ride with your heels dropped and smash into things, I think it's a pretty sick option.
Sweet. All right. Tool time.
Tool time. Yeah, we just thought we should touch on this trend. It's been going for a few years now, but it's really maturing quite nicely. The ability to store all these tools on your bike, and we've tested a few different options, but the one that keeps on coming out on top, I guess, is the stuff that OneUp makes. Really good. They have a range from a super small tool that doesn't require you to completely lose the star nut to these bigger ones where you have to knock your star nut out and then use a compression version, which will compress your fork from both sides. That one will allow you to store more things in there than the smaller one. But both of them work really well. The tool itself is of high quality, and it's just become one of those things that we really want to see on the bike. And as far as aftermarket options go, this is the one we definitely want to shout out. Got those on a few bikes.
Totally. Yeah. Do you know if any brands back the OneUp tools in their bikes? Like if you can buy a bike and it comes with it?
That's a good question. I don't think I've come across one.
I haven't either.
Because I know like Specialized Bikes has their SWAT version. The Trek Fuel EX I'm testing right now has I think it's a Bontrager version. And I totally agree. It's like one of my favorite spots to have easy access to tools. And once it's installed, it's pretty mindless. But it'd be cool for more, I think the OneUp is definitely the peak of that quality, actual amount of tools you have, usability of it all. It'd be cool to see some more bikes coming with that, like OEM, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too far-fetched. I mean, this full version means you don't put a star nut in there, so a little bit sketchy maybe sending that out to customers who don't know, but same as with any innovation, I guess. Yeah, totally could be done.
Yeah.
Product managers out there listening, you know what to do.
Yeah.
All right, clothing time. Clothing.
Yeah, we have to touch on this category, don't we? It's one of those where you want to look good and feel good, and it's kind of funny talking about riding gear in one way, because it's literally what you wear, but at the same time it's definitely, there's a performance aspect to it, right? There's good gear can make or break a ride, especially if you happen to not live in Israel or San Diego. No, is it San Diego? No, LA, wherever. Not if you live in Idaho, you need all the good gear and you need all the good stuff. So so what we wanted to say here is, first of all, that fabrics and technologies have come a long way in the last few years. Every time now brands send us new stuff, pretty much all the time we're stoked now. It's like, wow, this fabric or this feature or whatever, it's things we didn't used to have. You go back 10 years, who wanted to ride in pants, right? Unless you were at the bike park and you were literally wearing a pair of motocross hand-me-down sort of nylon whatever thing weighed 1.5 kilos, and that's before it got wet. Once it got wet, you couldn't sit on it. You had to like up the spring rate of your bike if you're going to ride with wet pants. So that's no longer the case, right? And the other fun thing about clothing is that it's quite an open category still. I mean, we have the big heavyweights, and we'll talk about those, but upstarts like Darko here, downhill Australian company, shortens down to Darko. They popped on the scene not long ago at all, and they came in with some pretty cool stuff that we tested and liked. There is an unfortunate trend in downhill to go to tighter and tighter pants. We could talk about the new UCI regulations, but they're not helping. Like, guys, just stop it. Anyway, so you may want to consider sizing up if you like hamburgers like I do, or you just don't want to look like you stole your sister's pants. But if you ride like Jonathan here, it's fine. It's okay. Oh, look, here I cloned myself. I did a bunch of testing of pants. Some of my favorites that you can see there on the right, I really love the POC pants for sure. They do a great job. I don't know what that guy in the middle is doing. That's not me, by the way. That guy, don't know how he got there. Anyway, that's pretty funny. I didn't know you had dug up that footage, Sean.
Oh, for sure.
You know how hard I worked hard on that sequence, by the way, making that 4 out of.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. There was a lot of editing gone into that because I couldn't actually clone myself. I tried, but it failed. The other ones turned out even weirder than I normally am. So yeah, that wasn't a good one.
All right. What about some Fox goods in general?
I mean, in general, I feel like all their stuff has evolved a little bit, and this year I was impressed with everything I read. Same as Johan. For the first time in my life, I went from 32 to 34s on pants. So I don't know why the trend is maybe tighter. Luckily, the fabrics for trail to downhill pants are a heck of a lot stretchier than they
dating back to the late 90s and the inception of Red Bull Rampage. Canfield's downhill pedigree was built on hard-charging bikes with a reputation.
I did 2 laps the first day on it, and it was really surprised is the best way I can summarize it. So looking at the bike, it does look
even going to like
dating back to the late 90s and the inception of Red Bull Rampage. Canfield's downhill pedigree was built on hard-charging bikes with a reputation.
I did 2 laps the first day on it, and it was surprised is the best way I can summarize it. So looking at the bike, it does look.
Same as y'all. That's how I feel. There's so many options now, and there's really any brand has a premium offering that is going to perform really well.
Yeah, and some of the things to look for if you ride in slightly warmer climates, or you just enjoy feeling more relaxed on your bike, all the dry release stuff that brands are putting out now is really, really good. You don't have that sort of nylon clingy feel to it. Even when you get drenched in sweat, it'll still stay sort of soft and cottony in the feel. That stuff is really sick. And obviously the wet weather gear that we get these days is just amazing. I'm an old guy. I grew up in the era of rubber raincoats and rubber wellies. And that stuff's absolutely awful. You get as wet from sweating in them as the rain that falls outside. You may as well just not wear it. But the stuff we get now, all of this 3-layer stuff in particular, that's the one you want to be looking for. This is the Iron gear here, which is really good. Fox makes some absolutely top-notch rain equipment as well that we tested. This 3-layer breathable yet waterproof fabric absolutely works. It will literally keep you dry while evaporating sweat. It's kind of science fiction, but it absolutely does work. Jason, you alluded to it. The price tag is often horrendous. Like it's a thin piece of jacket that has no padding, no fluff, and it's like $300+, and you go like, what? Why would I pay that? Well, if you do ride in the rain, you take one ride in it, and you go, okay, that's why I paid. Okay. Because it absolutely is worth it. The price tag does really sting, but once you've ridden in a pair of waterproof and breathable pants, you can literally just haul ass through a puddle, and your bum is dry. That's a complete game changer. If you rode 15 years ago, that was the worst part of it, was just sitting on your wet saddle with a bunch of mud on there. It was just absolutely awful. But yeah, those days are behind us now. So well done, mountain biking apparel industry.
Yep.
Yeah. Specialized seems to be hitting on it pretty good right now too.
Oh yeah, totally. Yep. It's kind of weird. Some people will not ride a brand because it's not the bike they ride, but you really have to sort of think of Specialized apparel as its own product category. And everything I've tested from them has been spot on. Like, they sent us some really good downhill pants, really good dry release stuff. Stoked on pretty much all of it, and they're right up there with all of the cutting edge fabrics and technologies and whatever. The Big S takes a lot of flack for being big and sometimes maybe a big bully, but they know what they're doing, and they make good stuff, including the apparel.
Yeah. We've got
dating back to the late 90s and the inception of Red Bull Rampage. Canfield's downhill pedigree was built on hard-charging bikes with a reputation.
I did 2 laps the first day on it, and it was surprised is the best way I can summarize it. So looking at the bike, it does look industrial.
Dating back to the late 90s and the inception of Red Bull Rampage. Canfield's downhill pedigree.
Mont Royal pants.
Oh yeah, the Virage pant. That pant's, I feel like we could go on for like an hour just talking about pants because there seems to be so many options right now. But this pair in particular, got to test and didn't really know much about it. But it's like you can tell in the shots how like thin the fabric is, which I guess only downside is if you crash, it might not be the most durable. But these pants are by far the comfiest trail pants I've worn. They don't have a ton of like breathability built into them. They're good for, I would say, like shoulder season riding or, riding when it's not the warmest out, but they're super comfy. I'll wear them to the gym. They almost have like a Lululemon sort of feel to them. I mean, cuffed ankles, the waistband doesn't have any adjustment. It's just like a stretchy waistband, which I like. There's nothing to rub on you or anything. Usable pockets. I mean, those pants are sweet. I wear those just as much off the bike as I do on the bike. So yeah, pretty sweet.
Are they too short? Like about 70% of pants?
You know what? They're no, which is fun. Which is funny. That's a different conversation. But I typically buy pants that are prepare me for the floods. But those ones aren't bad. Going back to full side note, the Specialized pants. That's my only knock on their trail version. Is how tight the ankles are, and I can't get my feet out of them to save me. I gotta like pop the seam to make them work. But no, for the most part, the length is fine on most of the stuff I've ridden. It's okay, at least for my body size.
Yeah, it's a common complaint we get on some apparel reviews. People are with long legs are like, okay, what do we do? And the answer for you long leg folks out there is actually iron. They tend to make very long pants, at least the couple I've tested, like for the same size waist and all the rest of it. You can see here, like with the bent knee and sitting there, there's enough there to cover the shoe. And I have abnormally long legs for my height, so it's always a struggle for me. But iron will get that job done for you.
So if I put those on, they'd be about 1.5 feet too long.
Yes, yeah, they are pants and socks for you.
And
all
skis.
the cuffing,
Yeah. It's an all-in-one, 2-in-1 solution. Yeah.
Sweet.
Save on socks.
All right, let's wrap up with some gloves.
Gloves. Yeah, definite shout out to 7 Protection and Royal. They make some really nice gloves. Been running them for years. They've gone through all kinds of different evolutions, but they dropped an updated line for 2022 that's been a go-to. Something there for anything from the light days to the heavy days. Some with some protection that don't look like those old, what were they, Fox Bomber gloves with the carbon knuckles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So here you kind of get some protection, but it's sort of sewn into the fabric, and it makes you look a bit less dorky while still providing some protection. So yeah, always on our list of gloves to grab when heading out for a ride. Definitely worthy of a shout out. And there's obviously tons of options.
I'll attest to the winter gloves. Being here in the frozen tundra hell of Idaho, that they work really well. Then Jason, you like these, right? Specialized?
Yeah. It specializes a Neo Shell glove, which they were my go-to cold weather glove when I was living in Boise. They're not waterproof; they're water resistant, so they're not something I would reach for if it was snowing or raining out. But for a glove that's Polar Tech lined, kind of has like a dual layer feel to it. They're not super thick. Like you still can feel your gloves, feel your levers pretty well, like pretty good hand dexterity if you're doing other stuff. And that's a problem for me. Like once I put on a huge winter glove and then my hands are starting to get cold, like they immediately freeze up and I can't get blood in them. And yeah, I was a fan of these. They go up your wrist a little bit higher, which is nice too. So you don't have any skin overlapping with the jacket.
Here's a little tip I found when shopping for winter gloves. They tend to, I don't know if brands, they just mess this up or whatever, but they tend to run a little bit tight. I think it's the brands just take the same size kind of shell and then they stuff it with padding, right? So what's left inside is not big enough, and they need to size up by half a size to make room for the padding. But I don't think they do, because I've had a lot of winter gloves come through for testing, and what I'd find is if they're a little bit too tight, that's it. You're done. You're getting cold fingers in 5 minutes because you've just now cut off the blood circulation to these poor digits that don't get enough blood anyway. So that's a thing to definitely look for. A glove that feels maybe a tiny bit big or even size up because that'll actually help when it gets cold. I remember from the 3 cold days we had last year.
Dude, no way.
I totally agree. That's a huge one. Yep.
All right, Bobby DeBobo DeBebo Bob, something in the live chat. He asked, just generally, what do you think of Fun products? Fun, Funn.
Fun.
I'm gonna be caught flat-footed here because I haven't had any to test in a long time.
They were in the old pedal shootout, right?
No, they weren't in the pedal shootout either.
They weren't, not even that long ago. Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen.
Yeah,
that.
I have to go deep in my memory bank to think of the last time I rode any of their stuff, like a long time ago.
The pedal that had grip tape in the middle, like 2008.
I don't no, but that sounds cool.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Sweet. All right. Well, Johan, you're the Gear Show master. You want to take us out?
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks for joining this special episode of Gear Show. Usually it's just me and my truck out in the woods talking about gear with some help from Jason, who reviews some of it and chips in. But we wanted to do something a bit different for you for this end of the year episode. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the stuff that we enjoyed. And if you didn't, it's not a huge deal. You don't have to get really mad at us because we didn't call out your product or because we said something you may not agree with. That's okay. It's the internet. We all have our opinions. But hopefully you found something useful in the stuff that we covered. And definitely if something was on this list, it's not a lemon. Trust us, we didn't put it on here because some advertiser threw money at us. If it's on this list, you can use it and you'll have a good time.
Cool.
Sweet.
Other than that, happy trails.
Yeah, happy trails.
Happy holidays.
Holidays, all that good stuff.
Catch you at the end of January 2023 for the return to the regularly scheduled programming. Gear Show will be back.
All right.
Sweet.
Yoo-hoo. Peace.